Good thing I copied off a blanket.
What you talking about? Yeah. Eyes on the steel, bro.
I call me, y'all.
The feet in here.
On this table. Alright, so I want everybody on this side. I need you guys to slide those tables back another 2 feet so we can get everybody around this table.
Thank you. Yes.
Alright. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning, Chef.
Today we're going to be fabricating pig. I'm going to need probably 4 sheet trays laid out on those tables over there. I'm going to demo one side, and then anybody who would like to partake in working on the other side is welcome. Everybody is welcome to do something. We're going to then, after that, bone out some hams, and we'll be tying them and brining them. We'll be brining the hocks. We'll be making a dry rub. We'll be rubbing our bellies to make bacon. Okay. We'll be pulling out the jowls. Okay, and curing them to make guanciale, which is a very classic Sicilian jowl bacon. It's very treasured because believe it or not, this part of the animal here is the most worked on the whole animal, and so this has the most flavor. So the jowl bacon ends up being about almost 2 inches thick, where belly bacon usually is only about 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch, unless they're specifically designed for that. So from one end to the other, as we identify parts of this, because this will be part of what you have to do, part of what you have to know for the meat bath final. We're going to be working from one end to the other. So for identification, right? This here is called a
Pig's foot.
a trotter. Okay, not a pig's foot. Then this part here and this part here is a hock. This part here is a ham. Okay. As we're working forward along the back, the 2 exterior muscles on the back are loin. Okay, from hind quarter to forequarter, in between on the back of the spine. On the interior, as you look to the interior, these 2 here are
Tenderloins.
tenderloins. Very nice. Okay. This here,
Baby
belly.
this is belly. Okay. And belly then becomes whatever you choose to make with it. All right. Underbelly is ribs. Okay. When you're talking about the ribs, these are a true full slab rib that runs all the way from the spine to the tip. Okay. When you're describing ribs and how they're broken up, so when you guys go buy them at the store, the more curved part of the back of the rib, from essentially the tip of the spine where they're cut off, the curved part of the rib is your baby back. Okay, so if you guys are trying to picture the animal from this way, working towards it. The spare rib is generally from where the baby back is cut off, which is a general 4-inch cut from here to here, all the way to the tips, including the cartilage tips, is a spare rib. So that's your main difference. Okay, the spare ribs are much larger, but they all have cartilage on them. Okay, so whenever you're eating spare ribs, on the one end of them, there's always that white piece of meat that's in between, and that's all cartilage. St. Louis style is a half and half. St. Louis style takes the center part of the rib, okay, not including cartilage and not including the tips of the baby back, so it runs from here to here all the way down. It's a 5.5-inch cut or so. So they're larger than the baby back, but they do not include the cartilage tips. Okay? And that's why they're considered to be so valuable as compared to the other ribs in St. Louis. At least the best style of rib for the most meat and to get the flavor of both one end and the other end, you have your St. Louis style. So, which was a cut that was basically designed here. Okay? Yes?
Do they have to rip that up?
Do they have to rip?
Like his eye part? Like why?
Yes, because of sanitation purposes. So all animals are completely de-haired in order to do it. So anything that would be around the eyelashes or anything, hair from the ear, same way. So some of them are rolled, called tumbling, and they have tumblers that actually rip it out, and some of them are burnt. They actually take a torch and they just burn the hair off. Okay, and some that we've got before were done but poorly done, so we actually had to burn some before. So where they would be left with a big patch that they missed.
That must have smelled great.
I was just gonna say.
So, all right, so we're working our way forward. Now you had a trotter in the front, you have the larger of the hock. Okay, the larger of the hock is always on the front, and it runs from this downward, this bottom elbow joint to the upper elbow joint. And here you have actual two muscle masses. Sometimes they're termed as one, sometimes as two. This smaller piece here, okay, from right here, is your picnic ham. Picnic ham. Up here, which is your shoulder mass running from the spine, from behind the ear to the front of the loin, is your Boston butt. Okay, so picnic ham, Boston butt. Connected as one piece, it is a picnic shoulder. Okay, so when you hear somebody say picnic shoulder, it has to contain this muscle mass here. Okay, if they just say shoulder, it's a Boston butt.
Is the size difference? Is there a size difference?
Oh yeah, I mean this muscle mass here is going to be an additional 4 pounds. So, and you'll see, I mean you'll be able to basically identify when you look at it, the cut comes straight across. Now, in St. Louis we have things that we like to barbecue called a pork steak. Okay? That is basically a St. Louis thing. And when I got out to Virginia and I asked my meat purveyor to send me 1 pound pork steaks out because my boss had never heard of them, so I was going to do some. He's like, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. I said, take the Boston butt, okay, and run it through the bandsaw an inch thick and cut it across the bone. There's a blade, a shoulder blade, just like we have a shoulder blade, that runs the length of your Boston butt. And in order to get through that, you have to cross cut on. With a bandsaw, it's no big deal. Okay. With hand saws, it's a little more difficult because it's just hard to get through it, because instead of being a hard bone, like when we're going to cut some other, if you cut the ribs, they're hard bones, so they're brittle. You just snap through them. It's more flexible, so it's very difficult to cut, which is why they do them frozen. Okay. They freeze it so it zips right through them, and you get nice straight cuts. Okay. All right. So you have your pig ear. Okay. Pretty much, there's not hardly anything on the animal that's not going to be used. So less than 1% basically by weight of what's going to not be used. As we move forward from there, you have your jowl, which runs from here, which is the edge of your jawline up to behind the ear. So the full jowl runs all the way down like this. Okay, all the way up here under the eye, to the corner of the ear, straight down and around. Okay, when we cure that and smoke that, it's guanciale. Okay, snoot, which is also very treasured. Okay, how many people have had snoot?
I'm guessing that's the snout.
Yeah. Okay, how many people have had pig ears? Okay, there used to be a place down behind the, there's a produce market that was down behind the loop. There was a little stand back there, and there was a place called Mama Coal Pots, which was a barbecue place. And basically it was just a piece of plywood with the hole she cut out, and she wrote in marker on this board what she would barbecue. And there was this like 85-year-old Jamaican woman, and she made the best barbecue you've ever had. And she would do barbecued snoot sandwiches and barbecue pig ear sandwiches. And they were absolutely fantastic. Some animals come tongue in, some come tongue removed. So whenever you go to check, you have to be very, very careful, because the design of a pig is that they tear and rip food. So their teeth, unlike ours, aren't uniformed and straight. They have teeth that go in every single direction, and their design is just to shred food. So be very careful if you ever go to open it to take a look. Okay? All right, so it looks like they've removed tongue on this one. Okay? All right, any questions on design yet? I will give you a diagram that'll have all this pinpointed for you, so you can identify it all. Okay? All right, so the first thing that you always want to do when you're looking at your animal is to check to make sure that there's no broken bones or any damage in any way, because what's going to happen is most people get hurt when fabricating an animal because of something, a broken bone, something that's going to be sticking out where it's not supposed to. So you go to reach in to make a cut, and it's heading a direction it shouldn't, and you end up cutting your hand. The worst cut I had was on a snapped rib, and I reached in to grab it, and it stabbed me here in the arm. Okay, and you just can't see it. So I was reaching in like that to grab something out, and there was a snapped rib that was penetrating through. Right? All right.
What does that do sanitation-wise?
As far as me getting stabbed in the arm?
With like pork, isn't that like death?
So, yeah, I mean, there's going to be bruises on any animal. You're going to get bruises on this just like you're going to get bruises on chicken or anything else. The chicken's actually the worst of what we have going. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do, decide on what weapon you're going to attack with. Okay, I have a series of different knives I use.
Doctor.
What you're going to learn is that you want something that has some flexibility, just in case you need to work around something. You want a standard stiff boning knife. And then I want something a little bit longer for when you're going to deal with a larger muscle mass, because you want something that's going to be able to basically get across the distance of what you're going to cut. We're going to do different sections as we work our way through the animal. First thing you always want to remove when you start the pig is you want to remove the tenderloin. So we're going to roll this up. Okay, I need somebody on the head. Hold them straight up. I want everybody to come as close as possible so you can see what's going on. Okay. When they fabricate the animal, they split them from the center of the chest bone down through the hindquarters. Okay, cutting just the tip of the back hip bone. This way it enables you to get in and do as little damage as possible. So your tenderloins run right here. Does everybody see them? Okay. Okay, come on up. I want everybody to be able to see everything before I take it out. So they're right here, these two muscle masses that run here on the interior and back to the corner of the back hip bone. The first tissue that you have is basically this fat tissue here that is a usable grindable fat. Okay, this is collagen. And you're going to remove this by hand to get this out of your way first. Okay. And you want to be able to make sure that you get all the way up in the tip. Okay, everybody see here? That tenderloin starts all the way up here. Okay, we don't want to lose it. We want to be able to get all the way to the back, where it comes all the way back here. Okay, everybody's seeing where that tenderloin's going now? Yeah. Okay. All right, so we're lightly going to slice right here, this connective tissue. It's on the back part. Okay, revealing the rest of our tenderloin. Come on, they got some tough one on this one.
Tough little bastard.
Right. Yep.
Digital age.
Well, definitely help.
Shoot, this is
I think this is gonna make me start
Okay.
hating.
you know?
Yeah.
All right, so the first incision you want to make is going to be towards the center of the animal because it has connective tissue connecting the side of the tenderloin to the back of that rib cage. Okay, this is your full tenderloin. So what you're going to do is like we do when we remove that chicken breast is you want to start by just making a small incision and you're going to press on the actual muscle with your fingers, pulling it towards you. And you're basically just rolling that tenderloin off of there. Okay? If you had to, and you had no other option, you could remove this by hands alone. So if you were out somewhere and you didn't have a knife and you had to kill a pig and you had to be able to survive, you could pull this right out with your hands. But you're going to do a little bit of damage because it's the most tender tissue. So
How you get in there if you ain't have a knife?
how'd you get in
I
there?
know, I was going to say, there's a lot of ifs to get
How'd
to
you
that
kill
point.
him?
Well, when you're stranded out and you have to kill it, I killed it with a stone. or a spear.
But how you cut it open?
Yeah, they only do the same rock. Sharpen the stone.
So you would have something to cut
Chef
with
of the
it.
stone.
Stone soup. I like how the old Jamaican lady is the one that made the best food out of the pig.
Okay. All right, that's a full pork tenderloin.
Sheep pantry.
Okay, all the way from the back hip, all the way up.
Leave me alone, Ashley.
Okay? All right. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove part of our hind quarter.
Y'all need to put it on some ice.
That is creepy.
looking at you, Tori.
Okay.
Help me!
So,
I want to take my bone tonight.
where'd my bone saw go?
He's got
Bone saws!
Alright, so you have a saw, which is designed to go through bone, but not ever through skin. So you have to use your knife for that. So the first thing we're going to remove from the hind quarter is we're going to remove this back hock. Okay. Now the front one is definitely easier because you have an identifiable joint here. And the back one, they are stiff-legged from this joint.